What's going on, everybody? Welcome to tonight's episode of North Shore 9. I'm Jim. With me is Donardo and Tyler, and it's a WNS9 Plus, which means we've got a guest joining us today. So we welcome Pirates shortstop legend Jack Wilson in the house. Jack, how are you doing tonight?
I'm great, man. I'm happy to be here. I'm excited.
No, thanks for hopping on here. I said it was I saw that you were doing the Sportsnet Pittsburgh unobstructed views with Michael McHenry and Stephen Brault, and I was like, you know what, let's get Jack on the show and see if he can talk some ball with us. So
Absolutely.
Appreciate you hopping on.
For sure. No, ready to go.
Yeah. Well, let's jump into things. I said been a while since you've been a Pittsburgh Pirate, but what are you up to nowadays? What do we got going on right now?
Yeah, I mean, right now it's kind of like the dead time for me. I really got into coaching when I retired. Jacob, I think, was maybe 11, and so I got into coaching baseball, coaching soccer for my girls, doing the AYSO Super Saturdays, all that good stuff, and then just fell in love with it and wanted to kind of give back to the game and all the stuff that I had learned from the best coaches in the world. So I felt I wanted to give back. So started doing travel ball, and then I got a job at the high school that I went to, my alma mater. So I was there for 5 years and learned more about how to coach this generation of young players. And then got the opportunity to be with Jacob for 1 year at Grand Canyon University. So that was cool. Moved out to Arizona, and then since 2019, worked with the 18U national team. I got to be on staff a couple of those years, got to win a gold medal in the World Cup of Baseball, which was really, really cool in 2022, I think. Amazing experience. And then last summer I was in the Appalachian League, which is a collegiate wood bat league now. And then I'll be going back there in about a month. I'll be headed back there for another season with the Greenville Flyboys. So that's when really things get going. And then in the off season, I help my agent out and I train all of his infielders to get them ready for spring training. So January through February, I'm pretty busy with taking ground balls and teaching and throwing BP and all that good stuff. So it's actually funny. The actual baseball season is my downtime right now.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. Is that how you got involved? Because I remember like around draft time, the 2020 draft. Is that how you got involved with like Nick Gonzalez?
So Nick just happened to be represented by my agent.
Okay.
And so I was able to, when I used to live in California, I built kind of a facility in my backyard when I was playing. And so there was a full turf infield in the backyard. There was a cage, a basketball court, a gym, all that, basically all the stuff that you would want to do your workouts. And so a lot of the guys from our agency back in the day would fly to California, stay for like 2 weeks, and they would just come to my house and we would train. So that was the first time I got with Nick and Joey Ortiz, actually from the Brewers. They went to New Mexico State together, and we had both those guys. And that's when I got to meet Nick and take ground balls with him. He's awesome. I can't wait for him to get back.
Yeah, that was the most Pirate thing ever. As Pirates fans, we're just sitting there. He homers in the first game of the year, and he just starts limping. I'm just like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
No, that's pretty awesome that you've kind of made that transition to coaching. What's the biggest difference just being on the coaching side of things as opposed to the player side of things? Like how does like your mindset have to shift during games and during practices and things like that?
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing is if you want, and I made a lot of mistakes on the way. Like, when I'm fresh out of the big leagues, I'm looking at 11-year-olds. I'm like, why can't we turn a 5-4-3 double play? What is your problem? Like, it's literally you feel the ball throw. And it was like, you were just so used to that for such a long time. So I learned a lot about how to become a coach. And really, it's all about, communication. And I think this generation of a younger person in general, like back in, you guys look pretty young, but back in my day, like, yeah, if you did something wrong, your coach was in your face. You're grabbing your your helmet in football. They're yelling at you, and it was just part of it. And you can't do that anymore. That's like
sure can't
out, especially in high school. So I had to learn a lot about in those 5 years of high school. I learned a lot about communicating and how to deal with this new generation of player and how to understand. But I think the biggest thing I learned as a coach is remembering how hard baseball is. I think that's the biggest thing with young coaches in general is we see failure and we're so mad at it. Like, I can't believe he didn't hit that pitch. I can't believe he didn't make play. And you sit back and be like, dude, I made like 119 errors in 12 years. Like, I made errors all the time. I had like 4 3-error games. I'm yelling at this 12-year-old because he let a ball go between his legs. Like, so I actually got to teach myself to always remember, like, every time they messed up, I messed up the exact same way at some point in my life playing baseball. And that always keeps me in check. When I give a sign and we miss a bunt or something doesn't get executed, I'd be like, well, I've done that. I've not gotten a button down plenty of times, so I'm definitely not going to get mad at this guy because he gave me the best effort he could. It just didn't work out for him, So that's how I keep myself in check as a coach. But it also, I think that players understand and respect that when I come up to you, be like, hey, man, you gave me all you got. It just didn't happen for you. I 100% trust that if I give it to you again, you'll get it down. So don't even worry about it. We'll pick you up. Just learning how to communicate that way. And it's got a lot of positivity. I think really players are really affected by the coach and the way that they can give them positivity rather than the negative side.
How long did it take to get used to the anxiety there, though, of being on the coaching side of it? And
it never goes away. No,
you're just out.
No,
you're helpless.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, too, I tell people, we were in Pittsburgh, and I was there for 9 years, and it didn't go very well for us, right? The one thing I became really good at losing. And I understood why we lost. I understood how we lost, and it was part of it. Part of it is like, you know what? We didn't really get a lot of free agents. We had some good players. Some of them were rushed a little bit too early, but we never put like a full team together. We had really good offense and no pitching, and then we had good pitching, but we couldn't put up offense. It just never mixed right. And we really didn't spend a lot of money, so it was like whatever. But I also flipped that. I know exactly what it's like to be in a losing clubhouse. And so I use that as like, guys, I tell my players all the time, even like the college guys, like I was one of the biggest losers in the history of the game over a 10-year span. And I'll tell you exactly what a clubhouse looks like and feels like. And I can teach them to be the opposite of that, because I can tell you right now, like, I think it was me and Adam Dunn were like the top 2 guys had the most losses over a 10-year career over our times that we played against each other. So I know what losing is like, which means I also know what winning is like, because it's the exact opposite. And so a lot of times I use that experience of being this ultimate loser and spinning it to a positive and being able to teach these guys, like, the way that we're acting right now is exactly how we should act if we were a losing baseball team. So let's do the opposite, So now I'm super competitive. Now I love to win, but I'm also okay with losing because I understand that we can learn a lot from when we lose. There's a lot to be learned from failure. So I'm not a guy that gets upset when we lose. Some days you just don't have it. Some days your team plays well. Sometimes it don't. Some teams, the team's just better than you, and it happens. But I've never been in like a guy who's like, I can't believe we lost. It's just, all right, hey, we got to learn from this, and let's get back to practice tomorrow. Let's work on the things we messed up today, and let's get better on the other side.
And sometimes they're 14 to 18-year-old kids, and you just don't know you don't know what's going on up there.
Yeah, I love the college too, because the college is the same game without the parents. Parents were really difficult in the high school age. It's really difficult dealing with them. But it's the same game. I honestly played 5 years of high school and 3 years of college so far. There's nothing changed. The high school and the college kids, they're like the same maturity level, to be honest with you. They're just big kids, and they have less and less of responsibility off the field than they ever had. Like, to the point where I was in high school and I'd like look around our little clubhouse and ask them how many people had jobs, and nobody had a job. And I remember working at Blockbuster Video when I was in high school, trying to earn money to pay for my insurance and my gas money. And if I wanted to go out, and none of them had jobs because their parents want them to succeed on the field and in the classroom. So it's the same now. Those kids are now in college, and their only responsibility is to get good grades and go out and play good baseball. So it's just a different generation that you're dealing with. But I love that college age. They're really driven because they know if they don't do something, they're not playing baseball anymore. So you get a lot out of them.
Is there anything that you've learned as a coach? And the game has changed so much from like a technology standpoint too. Is there anything that you've learned as a coach where you're like, man, if I could have taught myself this when I was a player,
Yeah.
like, that would have been awesome.
Well, I say this a lot too, and like the whole thing where if you could write a letter to yourself, I do that with Jacob. I get to look at my career, look at everything. I did not teach Jacob how to hit like me. I taught him how it feels like me because that was what I was really good at. But I was like, bro, if I was going to teach you to hit, I wouldn't teach you my way. That my way is just the way it worked for me. Because up into the big leagues, I was an offensive guy. I hit 300 every year in the minor leagues. I got to the big leagues and I struggled with it. And there were some good years, there's some bad years, but I was known mostly for my glove. But when it came to hitting, I was like, Jacob, if I could go back and change what I did and try to emulate the better hitters, this is what I would do. And I was able to instill that in him at a young age, probably like 12 or 13 when he started to mature a little bit. So that was the thing where, I learned so much of watching. The best coaching, what I learned the most about coaching was my last 2.5 years as a big leaguer when I was a utility guy, when I watched more of the game than I ever had. I'd always been a starter, so I'd always played. But when I got to be a bench guy, I got to actually sit and watch guys have at bats and watch how they prepared on the on deck circle. And I'm watching the best players in the world and the best hitters, and I'm like locking in to see why they're so much better than everybody else and trying to gain that information. So I learned so much when I wasn't a starter. When I was just, I knew a lot about shortstop and I knew a lot about defense and facing certain pitchers, but I got to learn so much about the game when I was kind of more of a guy that played a couple times a week.
And that makes a lot of sense, because I was going to ask you too, because I find, in hearing too, as well as like maybe the hardest transition is for, and you played the highest level, right? I mean, you're one of the best in the world, right? In that sense. But, it's one thing to be able to do it, but it's also another thing to be able to coach it and teach it.
Yeah.
I was going to say, is that maybe like one of the hardest transitions from going to a player to a coach?
I think the best thing that I was able to do, I was kind of a little bit unorthodox in how I played defense. There were things that I did that maybe you wouldn't teach a guy to do in a certain way. Like I was really not good to my left. So much so I kind of collapsed. I was not flexible. So I was really good to my right. But when I went to my left, it was always like kind of this slide, stop thing and pop up and throw. It was never like on my feet because I wasn't flexible. So I always just collapsed so I can get closer to the ball. So I wouldn't teach that, but it worked for me. So when I teach infielders, I said like, hey, everybody's here is different. What you guys have to learn is how to master how to make a play a certain way, 100 out of 100. And everybody's a different type of athlete. Everybody throws a little bit different. Everybody's got different body types. I mean, Jacob's 6'3", I'm 5'10". So I had to teach him a little bit different way of doing things because of his height. And actually Jacob's more of a one-hand guy. I was always a two-hand guy. But it's whatever works for you. When it comes down to it, I believe the footwork is essential, that it's usually the same. But as far as feeling the ball, I learned as a coach, like to be open to what athletes can do and what worked for them. Because if I'm a coach, I just care that you're getting the out. I don't care what it looks like. If you want to do a pirouette and go between your legs and throw it to first every time and it works, do it. I don't care. Just get the out. So when it comes to coaching, I'm very open to each individual's talents and then you just try to enhance it as much as you can.
Now, my question to you on that, if they do a pirouette and they fail to make the throw correctly, then what happens?
Oh, I mean, I meet him in the dugout, say hi.
Okay.
You're grabbing the face mask.
Well, what usually would happen is he would do it in practice. If say he did something that I don't teach and I'd be like, hey, if that works, that's cool. Like I do not agree with glove flips at all if you don't have to. The only time I ever glove flipped is when I was on the ground. Like I dove and I glove flipped from the ground because it was needed. When you take a ground ball double play and you can easily take it out and flip it with your hand to the infielder and you just do a glove flip, I say, hey, you can do that all the want. But the second that you mess up the second baseman because he doesn't see it right and we don't turn the double play, that's when we're going to have a conversation. But if you keep glove flipping and it always works, I'm never going to say anything to you. But just know, if you don't do it the way that I would like you to do it, then there's going to be something on the other side of that where there might be like, all right, hey, Johnny, you're playing short extending because this guy – so then they can choose for themselves and make their own, decision on what they want to do, knowing that I'm not okay with it. Even with the summer ball team, that's the first thing I'll say to the infielders, guys, I'm not a glove flip guy. I don't like it. But if you can do it and it's perfect and somehow it works out, I'm not going to say anything. But the second it doesn't, that's when we kind of have a conversation.
Shifting to your time with the Pirates, but let's kind of spend some time talking about the Buccos here. You mentioned it didn't go well. I mean, and I think we can pretty much all agree with that. Like the Pirates, I think the most games that I think there was like a 4-year stretch there. It was like 67, 68 wins every year too. And I think the most games won during that stretch was like 75 or 76, somewhere in that area. So it was rough times. But like what do you remember fondly about your time in Pittsburgh? Like what do you gravitate to when you look back and you're like, that was pretty cool?
Just the fans. That the fans like welcomed me in at a very young. I was 23. I just came from AA. They kind of like. My style of play was very, very like similar to their lifestyle. Like you work hard, you play hard, you do the things right, you respect the game, and that's very much what blue collar Pittsburgh people are about. So I think we had that connection from the get go. And I always enjoyed. There were plenty of times I should have been booed and I wasn't at home. Times where I was struggling or I made a huge error, and they always accepted the like, oh, but it's Jack, we're fine. And I always thought that was pretty cool. I was like, man, I'd boo the piss out of me right now, but they didn't, and I was like, great. And I was like, so I love my teammates. I like those years were tough, and it was tough for fans, it was tough for us, but I wouldn't trade those teammates at all. I had a blast with them. We came up short a lot, but that clubhouse was full of really good people and people that I still talk to and still communicate with and have a relationship with. I love them to death. And, so the Jason Bays, the Freddie Sanchez's, the Zach Dukes, all those guys are still in my life, and we communicate as a group. So I wouldn't trade those guys for anything. Xavier Nady, love those guys. Chris Duffy, I can go forever.
So you mentioned that you were a part of a lot of losing clubhouses. You've been involved in a lot of losing, trying to instill the opposite of that with other people. Is there anything you can pinpoint on what some of those issues were back then? And was it other than, just not having enough talent?
Yeah, I think a lot of it was the Cubs were nasty. The Cardinals were nasty. The Brewers were coming through with Prince Fielder and Ryan Braun. I don't think there was much we could do about it, to be honest with you. They had better prospects coming up that made huge impacts. Prince Fielder did for Milwaukee, what Ryan Braun did for Milwaukee. They were stacked. And the Cardinals were the cream of the crop. They were the best team in the National League back then. So it's not like there's really not much we could have done different. We had our personnel, but if you lined it up position by position to the Cardinals, to the Cubs, to the Brewers, like it doesn't look good on paper. And those were playoff teams. And that was back before there was a second wild card. So it was incredibly difficult to compete in that division. I thought we had the best division as far as quality teams from top to bottom than any other division in the National League. It was really tough. And I think that was kind of the look at it. It's like, man, the Cardinals would always get the big free agents. They'd always get the good pitching. Their pitching staff was phenomenal. Cubs were the same way, so I think it was just the fact that I just don't think we could stack up with those teams. I think we were just behind the 8 ball, and we had to play really, really good to beat them, and they could play their B+ game and probably still beat us.
That time frame. Yeah, go ahead, Ardo.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, it's all you.
No, I was going to say, with the losing in your end, again, like this kind of relates to now also, to some level and degree. But, coming from a player, just kind of hearing that, like getting some insight on the clubhouse, right? With all that losing, like how do you stay motivated? How do you get yourself to wake up the very next day, go out there and try to compete, try to win? Like, does that losing really weigh on you and the clubhouse in general?
Yeah, I think it's still your job. You're still fighting for your job every time, no matter if you had a contract or anything. You're still going out there, and everybody that plays this game has an amazing amount of pride in what they do. That's how they got to the big leagues. And no one's just like going 0 for 4 and going back and be like, I made $1 million today. Who cares? Like, that's never happening. Like, we still are very prideful about our game because we've worked our butts off our entire life to get to that point. So status wise on a contract, how much money you're making never mattered because you just always, for your whole life, you wanted to play really good baseball. You wanted to be considered a good baseball player. So every day you're waking up, continuing to try to do that. Through the winning, through the losing, you still have to keep your job because you're going to be replaced, and everybody gets replaced at some point, whether it's early in your career or later in your career. If you get lucky to play a long time, you're going to get replaced at some point, and your job is to make that a really hard decision. So whether it's winning or losing or not, and it's tough to, walk into the clubhouse and you're not playing music and you're not excited because you're not winning. But the next day you wake up, you got a job to do. You got to go out there, you put your work in, and you got to somehow find a way to battle against the best pitchers in the world. So it comes down to self-pride and going out there and doing what you've always done is try to be the best of your ability every single day.
I think that's absolutely right. And I don't think any players really ever will quote unquote quit. But do you think at some point people start to maybe care about their own stats more, or just, I'm going to do my own job today. Whatever happens, happens. Does that at some point, like we look at Brian Reynolds right now with the Pirates, Brian Hayes, they've been beaten down. At some point, I'm just going to do my job. Whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
And well, I feel like clubhouse-wise, that's not good.
Yeah, well, that comes when we've been eliminated. That's when you're out of contention, you're just like, all right, you still want to win games, but you're also looking at the point, okay, say we're out by the end of August, you got all September, and you're setting some serious personal goals to end strong. I mean, but the thing is too, like, it just depends on what your job is. Like, my job was like the small ball type of thing. I'm bunting, I'm moving guys over. That was still something that I was always proud of and always liked to do, and then play defense. But like, I know when I had a jersey on, I played 100% every single time. There was never a time where I'm like, I'm just going to go through the motions today because we're not winning, But there is that business side of it that as a player, you don't like the business side of baseball, but it's real. It's true. And it is what it is. And you want to keep your job. You got to put up numbers. You got to do something to make them agree that you're the best player to help them win games in the future. So I don't think it's a selfish thing. I just think it's like, okay, I want to continue to play, whether it's win or loss. I still have to go do my job and earn the right to wear this jersey tomorrow. I think that's always on the front of being, a professional baseball player, professional anything, is making sure that you continue to get better and do well to keep your job, and that you don't like to hear that baseball is a job, but when you're up there, it's part of it. It's not something we think of. It's not like great, but it is part of it.
You and just to kind of draw some parallels to the current Pittsburgh Pirates here. They're not performing to expectations right now. They lost today. They go to 12-20 on the year. This is year 6 now of Derek Shelton, Ben Cherington. You've been through managerial changes. You've been through general manager, front office changes. How does something like that impact a clubhouse? And if so, like how is that? Because you mentioned the business aspect, and this is very much kind of the business aspect. The coach is usually the first to go from an accountability standpoint, and then dominoes start falling after that. I think we're somewhat close to that territory here in Pittsburgh, unfortunately. And I just want to know, like, what are your thoughts on, like, how are the players kind of weighing on that sort of a thing? Because, like, are they feeling that pressure of, like, this could be coming soon?
No, I don't think. I think I had, let's see, I think I had 3 managers and 4 GMs in 9 years, I believe. Might be 3 GMs.
Which is crazy, by the way.
Well, I think there's an interim in there. I think Brian Graham was in between Littlefield and
I'll say, did Bonifay acquire you, or was that
Bonifay? Oh, you're right. Bonifay was the first one.
Okay.
Then it was Littlefield, and then it was
Charrington.
Huntington. I always get those mixed up. So I had 3, plus the interim, which was Brian Graham, after I think Littlefield got let go in the middle of the year or something. So there was 4 total, I guess. But you don't really think. I mean, as a player, like, you don't really think about that stuff. I do believe that the feel of the vibe of the day definitely falls on the manager. Like, they give you that vibe, like their personality, how they run their stuff, how they communicate. I definitely think it has an impact. And I remember, when Lloyd was let go, and then Tracy was let go, and then we had Russell. And so it's just 3 completely different, showing up to the yard, completely different vibes on all that. None of them say that they were wrong or right. It's just different. So, it sucks because a lot of the blame, like you said, is going to become on that. And essentially the players, if they're not playing well, the manager gets fired. That's kind of just the way it goes. Sometimes we just saw our Stanley Cup winning, Penguins head coach, who's been amazing there in Pittsburgh, and he just got let go. And it's just the way it works sometimes. And you feel really bad as a player because you do take not acknowledgement of, like, that's on us, because if we played better, this guy would still be here. So those are the tough parts about the game, because I cared a lot about, Lloyd McClendon was the guy that believed in me from the get-go and put me in the big leagues before I really think I should have even been there. He just believed in what he thought I could become and what I was. So I owe a lot to him. And then it was really sad when he got let go. And it was like, man, I wish I had played better so he could have been here and we could have seen this through together.
So Lloyd McClendon is your favorite of the three?
Lloyd's up there. I actually loved Russell. I really enjoyed Russell. He's very quiet, not much to say, but very professional. Like, was a guy that said, okay, you guys are up here. You're here for a reason. You do your job, I'll do my job kind of feel. And I enjoyed that. I mean, Jim Tracy was the exact opposite. He wanted to be involved in every single aspect. And he was someone I didn't enjoy playing for because it was always something coming up to me, asking me some question, or why didn't you make the play? Oh, because I didn't. It happens. Like, well, why'd you do that? Oh, because I thought this was going to happen and it didn't. But I'll do better next time. But thanks for coming up to me right after it happened because I didn't know I messed up. Like, it was just a different vibe. He wanted to be involved in everything. And then, Lloyd was teaching me because I was young. And then Russell was believed 100%, you're my shortstop, go do your thing. He let me run the defense. I could put guys wherever I wanted to because he trusted in what I did. So
you invented the shift.
Yeah, no, you know what the funny thing is? We only shifted 2 guys in my entire 12-year career, and it was Prince Fielder and Bonds. Those were the only time I found myself on the other time at second base. And that was you just wanted those guys to try to hit the ball the other way. You just didn't want them to go deep. So that was back in the day. The shift is invented for them to change their approach, not so much to where they hit it. It's more the fact that we just want them to try to change. Most guys didn't change. They just kept trying to do it. And it was like, well, that gives us the advantage if they don't want to change. So, but those 3 guys, definitely 3 different vibes, but, didn't take away from enjoying putting on a Pirates uniform for that long.
Yeah.
Jim and I.
Along the same lines. Along the same lines. You also played for 2 different owners, Kevin McClatchy, Bob Nutting. I feel like when you were playing, there wasn't as much like fan hostility towards the ownership. I remember in 2007, the fans tried organizing like a walkout of some sort, and it didn't really go anywhere. So I don't know, like if that was something that was just kind of noise and you just ignored it. But I think also there's a unique experience here too with your son kind of going through the same kind of just fan ownership,
right?
Relationship there in Oakland. Because right now, again, we're kind of at that like boiling point where the fans have gotten so frustrated with just kind of everything involved. Andrew McCutchen, was quoted a week or 2 ago that like it's tough to go out there and play when you've got 25,000 fans chanting sell the team,
right.
And he tries to kind of talk to the younger guys like, hey, like this isn't about you guys. Like these fans have been through some stuff.
Right.
What does that kind of thing, like, how does that affect the players? Just like that fan hostility, just trying to realize that like, hey, this isn't directed towards me.
For sure.
But I'm the one on the field right now.
No doubt. No, I can definitely sympathize with them. I mean, they're showing up and trying their best to play well and win games. And I know those guys I got to spend a little bit of week of spring training with Pittsburgh last year in Bradenton. So I know those guys. I played with McCutchen. It's they're good dudes. They're working hard, and like you said, it's not really on them. I actually had a good relationship with Bob Nutting, and that's really all I could. My only time with him, we would cross paths in like charity dinners and stuff, and he was always really nice and gracious to my family, and so I understand fans being upset and stuff like that. I only can speak of my personal experience with him, and he was just a really genuine, nice person to me and my family, and I always respected him for that. Kevin McClatchy was the same way. And so I don't know anything about running a baseball team. I don't know anything about that business side. I stay away from my agency when they talk that agent stuff and everything and dollar signs and all that stuff. I never understood it and the formulas they use. So I don't really, I've always understand, fans and their home team not winning and the frustration of looking at a really talented roster and it not coming to fruition. I can always understand that. But at the same time, like, the business baseball is something I'm definitely not interested in. I don't watch Major League Baseball. The only team up until last year that I followed was the Pirates, just because I love it. I love wearing the jersey. I love the people in the city, and I always paid attention to it and the players that were coming up. And then now I watch the A's a lot. So other than that, like I've been offered jobs in pro ball. I don't do it. I don't enjoy professional baseball. I love the old game that you guys grew up watching. It's a different game now. It's not something that I'm really interested in. That's why I'm so into college baseball, because they're still still battling with 2 strikes. We're still moving guys over. We're bunting. We're hitting, running, all the stuff that is kind of just gone now. So I know I went off on your question a little bit, but the business side of baseball is just something that I've never really been interested. I went through arbitration. It was a really tough process, sitting there in that room, going through 3 hours of that. And I think that really kind of poisoned my thought process on the business side of baseball. It really did. It was really hard. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, that was not fun.
I can't imagine it being a fun process. Yeah.
No, it's horrible.
But like to reel it in, like away from the business side, but like just on the player in the clubhouse side. And I guess it kind of goes into losing. Like you kind of answer that to some degree, right? Like you just show up, you go to work, same thing. But like hearing that, I mean, does that add more pressure? Does it make you just kind of it is what it is?
Baseball. The same thing you did when you woke up on Saturday mornings and you're 6 years old and you laid out your uniform the night before and you're just trying to go to 7-Eleven, get a Big League Chew and a Gatorade, and you're just playing baseball. Honestly, it's what it is. And that's the only reason. The true love and the passion that you have for the game is the only way to get to the big leagues. And when you get there, it's that same passion. It's showing up every day wanting to be great. There's not a big leaguer that goes out there to just be good. And that drive every day, whether the vibe in the clubhouse is here or there, you still have to find a way to get yourself right to play a game. Whether you're lost 12 in a row or you're 0 for your last 12, you're getting in the cage, you're watching video, you're working, because that day you're trying to be special. You're trying to do what you do. And that's been since you were a kid. You just wanted to be great at it. And usually the big league guys were just really great. They were always good in Little League. They were all stars. They're studs in high school. Like, you're used to being really good and you know why you got there, and that's what you really focus on. So too, if you're going through a losing streak, but you're still busting your butt to do your job, you can help your team win that day. There's a lot of things you can do to help your team win. So your job is to make sure that you're that guy that makes that difference every single day. And you might not get that opportunity and it might not happen, but there's another game tomorrow that it could. So you got to keep on waking up with that same attitude. So even though the clubhouse kind of like, dang, we keep losing, but those guys are still preparing every single day to be at their best. As a player, all that other noise, once that umpire or some kid on the microphone says play ball in the stadium, it's on. It's on. Ownership, fans too. I mean, like, I remember, like, you guys watched For the Love of the Game, that movie with Kevin Costner where he says, like, activate the whatever, and everybody goes fuzzy. That's exactly how it is. Like, I would never know how many people are at the game until the 7th inning stretch when they sang, take me out the ball game. I'd look around and be like, wow, there's a lot of people here. I would never know, just because that's when you're zone and you're in there, there's no time to look around. Like, you're locked in. And that's just part of, the focus you need. Up there, it's so fast. You got to be ready to go. So I think regardless of the situation outside of those lines, once that game starts, it's go time.
Yeah, but
love it.
Jack, sometimes you had to have gone home, sat down, did whatever you did after the game, and just thought to yourself, good Lord, can they give me some help?
Not really. I would be the guy more to look in the mirror and like, what else could I do? More like that. Like, just because I never put any stock into something I couldn't control. Like, I only control what I do and how I go about my business and how a teammate I am or whatever it is. So I never even thought about that, like, oh, who's coming up or can we get some help? Because the bottom line is, like, no matter what I say, it's not like the GM's going to be going, you know what, Jack, thanks for calling. You're right. Let's bring this guy up. If I have no control of it, I don't.
Did you try?
I did.
You don't know till you ask.
I retract. I did one time. I called them. We had a trade. I believe it was 2003 or 4. And I'm in the cage. The TV's on, and we're making a trade with the Red Sox. Okay. And I hear in the background as I'm getting ready doing my swings for the game, I hear it's going to be this player, and a player to be named. And they named 3 players, and one of them was Freddie Sanchez. And I ran out of that thing because I played high school baseball with Freddie Sanchez. We were on the same travel team.
Oh,
and I ran out of that thing, and I went directly to the phone, and I went to the equipment manager and said, whatever the direct line is to the GM, press it. I need to talk to him right now. Because if he's a player to be named later, he has no idea who this kid is. And I got on the phone. I'm like, hey, you might not know, do your homework on Freddie Sanchez because he's a dude. This dude rakes. He's a stud. Promise you, if there's a player to be named later, which you can choose from 3, which means Boston's letting him go, take Freddie Sanchez. Good? All right, click. That's the only time it happened, just because it got caught up on TV. I happened to be in the cage, and Freddie's the dude. And he was. He was awesome.
That one worked out.
Maybe
you should be GM. Yeah. GM Jack Wilson.
My fantasy teams were awesome. I'll say it.
They're all players you coached.
I can build a fantasy squad.
Well, I think if there
the
is
city
one
of Pittsburgh
thing,
can thank Jack Wilson then.
I actually want to know if Jacob's on your team.
Oh, like, come on. Yeah. I reached. Yeah. I went way early in the draft for that guy. But the good thing is everybody knew, so they were cool with it. No one's going to talk crap if you take your own kid. How many dads are in freaking rotisserie baseball drafting their kid? So when I take them in the 5th round, they're like, yeah, you probably should.
Yeah, but you've benched him a few times.
Absolutely not. The guy's hitting 330. Are you kidding me, you guys?
Yeah, I'm not benching. I'm not benching Jacob right now.
You might bench him at some point this year.
Nope.
Okay.
That's bad mojo. That's
We're
bad.
You do that.
That's bad, and that's the day he's going to go deep. You know, that's the day he's going to go do something. You know, so yeah.
Maybe that's how you break him out of his slump. You bench him.
Yeah.
No.
Sacrifice your good for him, right?
We'll find out, and then we got dad-son issues. You know.
Yeah. It'll be like a Tommy Pham Jock Peterson situation.
Yeah, no doubt. Slapping people in the outfield. He would like not leave me tickets for his game. Like, buy your own ticket. I saw you bench me the other night.
Yeah. I think if there's one thing you obviously know well, it's the shortstop position. You were excellent playing it. You've raised an excellent shortstop. You've coached excellent shortstop. So, and I remember a specific time, I think it was last spring, when you mentioned being down there in spring training. You were on the broadcast, and they were talking about ONeal Cruz at shortstop, and you mentioned his feet, and like that's what was so impressive about him with just like how tall he is. I mean, he's a big dude. He's not your prototypical shortstop. Fast forward a few months later, they move ONeal Cruz to center field.
Right.
I just want to know, like, kind of what was your assessment on ONeal Cruz? And it's like, after seeing him, being a major league shortstop for 2.5 years, like, did they make the right decision? Would you have kept him there? Like, what was kind of your ONeal Cruz assessment? And was it time to move him to maybe a more a position where maybe a more natural position for him?
Right. Well, I think I didn't really get to see a lot of the mistakes he was making. I heard about him. I read about him. So I think that would be a different perspective if I saw like, oh man, he's just kicking balls. I don't know what his mistakes were. And I know that he was such a great athlete that making the move was like, yeah, that's not going to hurt you. If he gets out there and he starts, because he's so fast and his strides are so long, he's going to be fine. He's got a cannon. So now you're like, at least now you're not rolling him at third base because ONeal Cruz is coming up from center field. So I think that's just a bonus to be able to have a guy like that who's so athletic that you can say, hey, go play outfield. And I think the more he gets out there, the better he's going to get. But like I said, I didn't see too much. All I know is that there was a super stud third baseman for the Kansas City Royals named Alex Gordon, who came up as a third baseman and was supposed to be the truth. And they put him in left field, and that guy became like a 5 or 6 time Gold Glove left fielder. So it's something that might have been a thing like, hey, this has happened before where we've moved guys that started in the infield and then moved him out to the outfield and was very successful. And he's a freak athlete. And all you really care about is making sure, okay, maybe we get a more defensive oriented guy who's more, makes more of the play more often, and then put him in center field. And if he can figure it out, he can turn into a good center fielder. And then you got this incredible left-handed bat that you can throw out there every single day. Like, the guy that he is, his power is really, really impressive. And he's, the more bats he gets, the better he's going to be. So I'm happy. Oh, there you go. 8-time Gold Glove for Alex Gordon. And that guy was everything college player, was going to be the third baseman. They were talking about him being the next George Brett. And it didn't go well for him defensively. And he made the move out there because he was a great athlete. And, and now he's kind of in that borderline Hall of Fame. He's definitely a Hall of Famer for the Kansas City Royals in their Hall of Fame. And then he's put a nice resume together. Hopefully ONeal does the same.
Right.
That's what we're hoping.
Yeah.
Well, let's maybe transition a little bit away from the major league side. Same positions, shortstop, center field, maybe. You've had some time with Connor Griffin.
Yeah.
Maybe just hearing like your perspective, what you know about the kid, and he's having a nice start to his pro career right now.
Yeah, what a freak. That guy's a freak. He's incredible. I mean, I think I had him, he must have been 17 because USA baseball always is the summer before their senior year. And that year was really interesting because that 18U national team that we built, I think they went over to China, maybe. I forget where they were going. I wasn't on staff. I was just on staff to help build the team. It was Michael Kadyr's staff that he had. And we only had, I think, 2 first rounders in that group. And usually the 18U national team is like stacked with first round. I mean, there's at least 12 to 13 guys in that 20-man roster that are going in the first round. And I think there were 2 off that roster. So he stuck out even more. But man, he was tall, strong, really good actions at short. I know he's playing the outfield now, but he's gonna move quick. I mean, obviously you want to take your time with high school guys. But what he's doing now, I love watching his highlights, and I think he's in Bradenton, right? Since he's in Bradenton, and
yep.
Not surprised. I mean, very, really good kid too, very humble, just kind of the all-American guy. So when I really pay attention to the draft. I love because with being with 18U, you have a relationship with all these guys that get popped. And when I saw that they took him, I was super pumped. I mean, I love that guy, and I think he's going to be a superstar. I think he's going to move quick. I think he's there by 21, 22. Like he's got everything you can ask for as a super prospect, and he's going to move up that prospect look really fast. And he's already on the fast track. I mean, if he keeps doing this by the break, they're going to have to move him up because he's squaring up everything, and he's fast. He can run. I mean, he's got everything. He's a 5-tool kid. He's a 5-tool kid. So the future for that dude is really, especially now that he's moved to the outfield, which obviously being in the infield is a pretty tough position to play, doing ground balls, all that stuff. He's in the outfield, saving his legs, being a dude. He's awesome. And it's just, like I said, great kid. He's a perfect Pittsburgh Pirate. He's blue collar. He's going to work his butt off.
Nice.
Was Wyatt Sanford on that team too?
Wyatt Sanford. So sometimes I remember the names. When I do the trials, when we make the team, I get to coach one team and then there's another team. So it just usually depends on if they're on my team, whether I have more, because that's the guys we spend the entire 10 days with is our squad. And then sometimes we have group settings, but that name does sound familiar. But who did they take in I'm blanking on his name and I don't know why, because he was on my team and he's a dude. It was the 2nd or 3rd round pick out of high school. And they've moved him to pitcher. From Notre Dame High School.
Levi Sterling.
Levi is the man. I love Levi Sterling. Same time, I love both of these picks. Levi is awesome. He's a phenomenal athlete. He rakes. He can play defense. And I know that he's a pitcher because I think they've converted him to pitcher, right? Where he's going to full go. But I'm telling you what, when you take a super athlete that can do what he do and you make him to a pitcher, you get really – Jacob deGrom is probably the best athletic pitcher we have in the game. And you can see what he can do with his body. He can control his body. And if you look at the best pitchers of the game, they are athletes. Like they're really – so when you take an athlete that was a high school shortstop, that was a USA shortstop, and you make him a PO and he's just going to pitch, those guys tend to do really, really well because they can make their bodies do what they need to do to make their pitch, to hit their release point. And he's a great kid. I love that pick as well.
Yeah,
not telling what you said.
Go ahead.
I have seen Paul Skeens shoot a basketball, so I'm not totally sure about that statement.
Paul Skeens was just, you know what Paul Skeens, like, he hit at Air Force. He was a hitter before he went to LSU. I feel like Paul Skeens is just like that Paul Bunyan guy, where he's just big, strong. You wouldn't say he's a fast twitch guy, like a crazy athlete, but the guy is the one thing about Paul Skeens that I just enjoyed, because Jacob played with Paul on the college national team. So I got to see him before he went to LSU. And to see him then to LSU to now is a completely different pitcher. Like, he is super intelligent. He's bought into different grips. You saw him talking to the Japanese pitcher with the Cubs the other day in the outfield, talking grips. Like, he's very smart. He loves to learn about pitching, which makes him crazy dangerous because now he can make the ball do whatever he wants. Back in the day, no one's going to hit my fastball at LSU, so I'm just going to blow it by you. And then I'll throw a slider every now and then, but I don't need to because you can't hit my heater. To a guy that has learned how to pitch, like, he understands to understand how to get guys out, where they're swinging, where to put the ball. He's got this splinker now or whatever he calls it. I'm like, there's a guy that has a golden arm, but is learning how to be a pitcher rather than a guy that just throws hard. And I think that's where success is. Obviously got a tough day today, got a couple balls up in the air, but that's what's so impressive to me is to see his maturity as a pitcher with his brain and how he's so bought in to becoming a guy who knows how to pitch rather than a guy who just throws hard. And that's a big difference when you're in the box against him. It's like he can beat you in so many different ways, not just with power.
Shifting gears, let's talk about Jacob for a little bit. I mean, it's just an outstanding rookie season that he's having right now. He's hitting 325. That was coming into today, and he just had 2 hits, right? So
and a walk. Hey,
a
walk today.
Those are
there
rare.
you go.
We did
it. I was gonna say, if you have him on your fantasy team, hopefully walks aren't like a big point.
Yeah,
there.
it's not happening.
But what's that like? Just being able to watch him kind of. I mean, I remember going into the draft, like he was going to be like a late first rounder type guy, and then that junior year he just was outstanding. Played himself into the top 10. Skyrocketed through the A's organization. He had like what was his batting average in AAA? Like 440.
Yeah,
it was something stupid.
Good run.
like something just absolutely insane. And then seeing what he's doing now,
AA,
455. Like it's astounding.
396 in AAA.
And then seeing what he's doing right now,
got down to slump into 396. What a jerk! Gosh, dang it.
Yeah. Just seeing what he's doing
all
now,
the time. Like, man, come on. It's fun to watch.
It's crazy because like you don't see hitters like him at all. I feel like Luis Ariz is maybe the closest, but I think Jacob has more power than Ariz.
I think he will. I mean, I think he's the anti-analytic guy, which is on purpose. I taught him if we're having some sort of VHS podcast 10, 15 years ago, like they would just be loving the death out of it. Everybody would just be all over it. But since we have this technology, everybody wants to hate on bat speed and exit velo. But back in the day, they used to say great hitters got jammed because they stayed inside the baseball. And those exit velos are not going to be good, but they produce a lot of hits because, I mean, today he got a hold of one at probably 57 miles an hour off the bat and flipped it right into center field on an 0-2 count. Instead of swinging out of his can, it was a curveball, and he just kind of flipped it out there, and it fell in for him, and he got on base. And he's had a couple. I think he has a game-winning hit against Colorado in the 11th inning at like 72 that he stayed inside a pitch and shot it to right field when it was snowing. And then his walk-off the other day against the Rangers was like 84. And like immediately analytics like, his exit velos are so low. I was like, but he was taught from a long time to stay inside the ball and be really tough. If you stand outside the ball, you're allowing yourself to hit every pitch and just be really good with 2 strikes. Be a tough out with 2 strikes. It's not about not striking out. It's just being a tough out. And and to his detriment sometimes, his hand-eye coordination is so good that he puts balls in plays that you just wish he swung and missed. You're like, oh man, I wish he just swung and missed at that, and it wouldn't have been a roller to second. What he's doing now is not what he's gonna be. I don't think he's not gonna be this type of free swinger. I think your rookie year, your goal is to find out what works and just to do it as long as you possibly can. And I think that when you see pitchers for the first time, you have no idea what the shape of their fastball looks like. People think like, oh, he throws 94. What kind of run does he have? Does it run in? Does it sink? What does it do? Until you get up there, you can say, yeah, it has 4 inches of vertical, whatever they talk about now. But until you stand up there, so it's seeing a pitcher 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, 7 at-bats, 9 at-bats, where you start understanding and start looking for certain pitches. And I think with your rookie year, what he's doing right now is like, I'm swinging first and asking questions later. These guys are nasty. I've never seen this type of pitchers before. I'm going to battle. I got to face DeGrom, Evaldi. Like, all right, I'm going to go up there hacking. If they make a mistake, I'm putting it in play, and I'm going to learn from it. But what he's doing now, I don't see down the road. 400, 500, 600 at bats in, you're going to see. I mean, he's got 3 walks in the last 5 games after going the entire month without one, because you're just going to be more comfortable with the environment and comfortable with seeing this is the 2nd or 3rd time around with the Texas Rangers. He's seen them before, so it's a progression. So a lot of the things like, oh, he just swings. Is this sustainable? It's like he's not going to be like that for a long period of time. He's 23. I guarantee you 2 years from now at 25, he might still be aggressive, but it won't be anything like this. Hopefully, if I do my job. We talk every day. We talk every day after the game. My goal is to give him a positive text no matter how the game goes that he gets back to before the game over. If he gets back to the clubhouse, he's got some sort of positive text. And if it was a tough game, just be like, you find something positive that he can immediately see to kind of get his mind off it. And then if he wants to talk about at bats or did you see that pitch or what did you think about this, then we have a conversation. But for the most part, we're just enjoying the ride, and he's loving being on the A's, and they're good. They're a fun team to watch.
I wanted to ask you, how hard was it navigating Jacob growing up and some of the stuff being taught at the major league level, hitting wise, kind of leaking down to those lower levels? Obviously, you're Jack Wilson, so you can tell some of the hitting coaches to piss off. I know more than you. That probably helped a good bit.
Yeah. Well, I just look at it like I said, I didn't teach my way. My dad taught me a certain way, which is very choppy, high hands high, come down to the ball, create backspin. And, it's different. But like I said, Jacob was early on was different than I was early on. I would say I spent most of my life playing soccer. I didn't even play much baseball. So it was a different situation, but I still am on the old school. I don't care. I look at it as a manager. I don't care how fast your hit was a hit. I don't. I care that you're on base. I care that you have a chance to score. I don't care if it's 50 miles an hour, because I'll tell you right now, if you can tell me that I can master the swinging bunt, I would do it every single time. If that means I could get a knock and get on base. So I guarantee you Mark Kotze could care less about this dude's exit velo, and I never did too, because I'm like, man, hitting is hard. And a lot of times we're not going to square up a baseball. Hopefully we do. But a lot of times, like putting the ball in play and making a defense, especially in youth baseball and high school, defense is pretty sketchy. You can win a lot of games about just putting the ball in play. So my teams were they could have a hitting coach they want. I never took that away from anybody. But they asked me, I say hit how you hit, and then with 2 strikes, we're choke up, widen up, so that we can cover the entire strike zone. Or even more so, because especially youth umpires. That plate's pretty big, so that's what I always taught. That's what you see Jacob doing. Like a lot of the players that played for me through the system, they're usually pretty good with 2 strikes because we want to be really tough outs. But not I don't shoot anybody down. I don't everybody has their niche and what they like to teach, and it is what it is. I just feel I teach the old game, and that's the old game that I know. That's the only game that I know. I can't analytics. I believe has its ups and its downs. I think analytics should be more about building the player and understanding I can get stronger because my exit velos are this. But I don't believe in what it is now, where we can just tear down a player because their analytics say they're not as good as this guy. All right, are they good baseball players? That's all I care about. Do they help their team win? And if they don't, it's sent down. So it's all right, analytics has a place. Chase rate makes no sense to me. It's the one thing that I don't understand at all, that it's a computer saying that there's a strike zone, but the umpire is the one who decides what the strike zone is. So what's a chase? If the umpire is calling a ball out, I hope you chase then, because he's going to call you strike 3. It doesn't make any sense. So some of the stuff I don't get, and some of the stuff I kind of understand, but I think it is definitely a tool for a player to know I need more spin on my fastball, or I'm looking to this more, or my launch angle is this, whatever they want to do. I think analytics should be for the player themselves and the coaches, not so much for fandom, I guess, what I would say.
We have a Discord, and I feel like every day it's just a constant battle, because just everybody look at the red bubbles on Baseball Savant, or the blue bubbles, and I just pulled up Jacob's page, and it's bat speed first percentile, right? But squared up 100th percentile. So it's who cares how hard you're swinging the bat?
I told him,
it up every time.
Because he had to deal with that. He had to deal with people in college and stuff, and kind of tearing him down, this guy doesn't produce enough. But I was like, man, the only people that matter are your teammates, your manager, and the guy, your GM. If they believe that you're good enough to play and help them win games, that's all that really matters. Be great to the fans. They're paying their money, their hard-earned money to come out watch you play. Give them time, sign your autographs, be a good person. And I said, but Like all that other stuff, all that noise is just noise. It's in between the lines. That's what Mark Kotsay cares about. You know what I mean? Be who you are. Because guess what? You're 23 in the big leagues. You just got drafted. I think it's going okay. You know,
seems to be.
Worry about that stuff.
So, yeah.
Honestly, I could easily look at Jacob and I could tell you guys right now, I could get his exit velo 7 to 8 to 9% better right now if I told him to swing out of his can and strike out more. He's going to hit 230. He's going to hit some balls a lot harder, but he's going to swing and miss. He's going to fly out. He would not be who he is because I could just tell him, swing out of your gourd. Try to hit a home run every time. And I guarantee you when he hit it would go hard.
How relieved are you that at least it seems like as an outsider, that the A's didn't try to change that on him and make him more that kind of guy?
That was one of my first thought processes when he got drafted. They sent him to high A, and then there's instructional ball, right? They go to Instructional League where they kind of get their hands on him now for like a month in the spring training atmosphere. And that was like, I'd ask him a lot of questions when they get home, like, what do they say, what do they try to do? And I'm just thinking the whole time, like, please don't change a launch angle. Please just let him and I'm thinking that myself, but I'm like, all right, hey, you're their employee. You kind of got to do what they want. And he would always come back and at the end instructed, like, listen, we drafted you for you. We're not changing a thing. Go out there, play good defense. But if we wanted to draft a guy that was launch angle, this and this, we wouldn't have drafted you. We drafted you for you, be you, and let's see how it goes. And so I was really refreshed on that because I didn't know what they were going to do. I didn't know what the plan was for him. You can go so many different ways, but they're like, no, we drafted a baseball player that we think that could be pretty good when he fills in. I think those numbers will change over the course of his life as he gets stronger, as he gets into that young man, like 24, 25, 26. And I think all those numbers are going to change just naturally, you know, but I hope it all stays the same in his approach and stuff like that. But, you know, it's been difficult as a coach and stuff to talk to other players that buy into that stuff and just, you know, try to help them understand, like, you know, don't worry about all, just go play. Players get pissed off because they would get a hit, but their exit velo wasn't as what they thought it could have been. I was like, man,
it's a hit.
Baseball's little. Hitting is hard. Hitting is really, really hard. It's the hardest thing to do in sports. The fact that there's a guy on the mound with a ball trying to get you out. He threw it at you. It went into his zone. Your timing was good enough to barrel it up, to get it up the middle, and you're mad because it wasn't 4 miles an hour harder. So that's been a challenge as a coach to be like, let's put this in, you know, let's look at this in a different perspective. You got a base hit, you got on base and you scored. Like I said, if you can hit a 3 mile an hour swing and bunt, you do it every time. Like, you know, it's hard to deal with sometimes with these young guys that put so much stock into that.
I guess that makes a lot of sense. I never thought of a perspective because, like, this new age, like Baseball Savant, it's still newer, but that age group, like, they grew up with it.
They grew up with it.
So I guess like that's the hit doesn't matter. It's how hard you hit it, I guess.
Well, you can't go to a batting cage that doesn't have a TrackMan.
Right.
And every swing they got to turn around and look at their exit velo. I'm like, and I will be throwing BP and I'll talk to a kid and just be like, hey, listen, I played 12 years. I couldn't tell you a single miles per hour on any one of my hits. The tech wasn't there, and I wouldn't care less. I could care less. I knew if I didn't hit it good, I didn't hit it good. I don't need to know an exact number. And if I hit a line drive really hard, that means every 5'10", 190 that I have put into that ball. But guess what? Like, y'all looking at the top of the exit velos, and you're looking at people that are behemoths. Like, Jacob will never hit a ball as hard as Aaron Judge. It's physics. There's no chance that a 6'8" dude's going to hit the same as a freaking 6'3", 185-pound guy. So, like, when you hit everything you have a limit. There's only a ball that you can hit so hard. Now, that's going to change as you get older, but it's like, okay, whatever percentile you're in, you're a shortstop who's 23 going against outfielders that are 32. That's the grade you're going against. Well, guess what? Your body plus his body means you shouldn't be hitting it that hard because it's physically impossible. You know what I mean? So you just try to keep perspective and stuff like that and try to get the bigger picture. And really, it's about the game of baseball. It's how you play between the lines. All that other stuff, like I said, I think the other stuff has value to know I do want to get stronger because I do want to add to this. But it's not a thought process to where, like, I'm getting upset because it didn't happen.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's gonna be cool to just kind of watch him progress because it's a profile that you just don't really see often anymore, and it's clearly working So it's like just keep doing what you're doing.
Right. I think he's always going to be a contact guy, which gives him a chance. He has a chance to get. He's got, I think, 39 hits, which I think is like 4th in the league or 5th in the league or something like that. And it's just because he has a really good plane. He stays inside the ball and he puts the ball in play, so he's giving himself a chance. And he's going to have those reps just like everybody else because pitchers are really good. And that's when you just like put it in perspective for him. Like, well, Jacob deGrom's kind of nasty. So if you go for 3 off Jacob, sometimes you just tip your hat because he's Jacob deGrom. He's really good, and you teach him that part of the game too, and understanding like sometimes the pitchers are they just beat you, and that's part of it. And your job next time you face him is find a way to beat him. It's the cat and mouse game.
Yep. Let's before we end this again, thanks for hopping on. It's been a lot of fun. I want to end with some fun stuff. Fun stuff. So cool. There is a contingency of Pirates fans out there.
Okay.
Who
Jack's so nervous right now.
Dude, I don't know where this is going, but you guys start laughing when you talk.
I call them sick, disgusting people. But they wanna bring back the red jerseys.
Look at those shoes though.
Yeah.
Come on.
Oh, the shoes are good.
Yeah.
But like what were your thoughts on the red jerseys, and should they be just scrubbed from the internet altogether?
I don't know. I can't tell you which side you're on. I don't know. I'm literally wearing my favorite color right now, so that probably gives you an idea. I would say this. We did look like we worked at McDonald's. That was the downside. That's the downside. But I literally think that I love the color red, period. But like the red in sports is just like that color that almost everybody has. They have some sort of red in it. That might be too much red. Maybe doing an outline of the Pirates in red. But I did enjoy that one year where it was a little different because I got to make cool cleats like that. And I still have those, and I still have that jersey. And that's the one jersey that I'll pull out every now and then, just because it's so unique. We only had it for 1 year. Everybody hated it, but I loved red. So I chose to go to Texas Tech before I got drafted simply because they wore red and black. That was my
Red Raiders
brilliant idea to decide what school I was going to, is because they wore red. So I'm biased. I'm biased a little bit, but I can definitely see. I like looking at it now. They're not. I just think it was too much McDonald's. I think that you could put, because we did have red in the band.
The red
the brim.
Yeah, the brim too. Yeah.
I love the brim hat. That was a cool hat, but maybe a little less red. But yeah, I don't think those are coming back anytime soon. I have mine. I love mine.
Maybe if you weren't in the division with the Cardinals and Reds.
Yeah.
Because I just see that color and it irritates me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was just something different. I mean, obviously, you got City Connect now. I think our City Connects are awesome. Pittsburgh. I feel so bad for the A's because they were leaving Oakland, so they didn't have a City Connect, and now they're in Sacramento and they don't have a City Connect. They're like the one team that won't have one until they get to Vegas. So I feel bad because some of those. I love the new Chicago White Sox one, and I think that's red, but it's because of the Bulls, right? It's got the Bulls stripe. I think that looks really sharp. So I think it's just being creative, and I think that was what they came up with, So sorry, I didn't mind them. We didn't wear them very often, but that was also 2004, and I got a lot of hits. So
I'll say this: I loved the vest, though. I wish they would bring back the vest. I thought the vest was kind of cool.
The vest was cool. I think. I think we went back to the sleeves in maybe 05. I think we got rid of I think the first 4 years of PNC Park, we had the vest on both sides, the home and the way, and then I think in 05 we brought them back.
The gray vests were hideous, and the white vests, those are ugly. Yeah,
I mean, I love the blacks too. The blacks with the P, just
blacks
the P
are fine.
Side. I really like the blacks. That was and I always loved wearing the Homestead grays and the Crawford, like the Negro League jerseys. Those were always fun because there's such a history with Pittsburgh and the Negro Leagues and stuff like that. So that was a lot of fun too. So we had some interesting uniforms back in the day for sure.
All right, then one more thing. We're gonna test your memory. So you made your major league debut on April 3rd, 2001. You were the starting shortstop.
Yeah.
Can you name the rest of the starting line?
Say it. Are we? All right. Okay. All right. I'm gonna try it.
See how the group chats are going now, Jack.
Jason Kendall behind the dish.
Kendall
That's
behind the
Emil.
dish. Yep.
Ramos Ramirez is at third.
Yes.
Pat Mears is at second.
Yep.
Kevin Young is at first.
Yes.
Oh, this is where it gets nat. Is Emil Brown in center field?
No. Close, though.
Wait, no, there's another Brown. It was the other. There's two of them. I can't remember the first name. I was right, though. I'll take half the credit.
Adrian Brown.
Adrian Brown, yes.
Fielder.
And he had that amazing catch. He had like a Rob catch right center at some point in that first series that I thought was amazing. Adrian, that's right. Emil was a right-handed hitter. Adrian was a lefty. And Adrian, I love Adrian. And then, this gets tough. I think Vanderwall was somewhere in there, yes?
No, he pinch hit.
He pinch hit. Okay, so that's where he got his home
start.
So am I going Derek Bellin, right?
Derek Bellin, right? Yep.
This one's tough. Left field.
Need left field and starting
pitcher.
pitcher.
My gosh, Brian Giles. What am I doing?
Brian Giles. There you go. Yep.
What am I doing?
Then,
hey, that was close.
Yeah, starting pitcher.
Oh. Todd Ritchie.
Nice. That was good.
That was impressive.
Keith Olesick is behind the dish as the backup. A couple days later, he's the backup catcher. We had also Mike Benjamin, backup.
Great sideburns.
Warren Morris made that team. He started off on the team, I believe.
Yep.
And then we had obviously we had Emil Brown as our backup outfielder. I think I got them all. Let's go.
You did. That was impressive. That was
Honestly,
good.
When you first said
that was a while ago,
I'm gonna look like an idiot. But I did have 27 different double play partners in 9 years. So
yeah. And then
one of them being Jose Bautista, by the way, when he played second base for like 3 games.
None of them could touch Pokey though.
Oh, Pokey Reese.
Love me some Pokey.
I was spoiled. I had Pokey, I had Freddie, Jose Castillo. Then I had Kevin Young, Darryl Ward, Adam LaRoche, just picking everything.
Craig Wilson
was not very good at short. Those guys just made me good. I'll tell you what. You can just throw it to an area. Those guys picked everything. They picked everything. So I got super lucky.
Craig Wilson gets no love over there.
All right, Craig raked. But
there we go. Craig raked.
Remember, he got drafted as a catcher. He was a stud catcher coming through the Toronto Blue Jays. And he did a good job over there. I just those guys, Kevin Young coming from third base, and then Adam LaRoche was butter, and so was Darryl Ward. They were ridiculous. They were beyond. They did not get the love that they got on how great they were. And even Darryl Ward, he was a bigger guy and one of my favorite teammates ever, by the way. But he slapped everything. And then Roche was like a shortstop playing first. He was so good. They were so soft. They had soft hands, man. And then I think Craig got a lot of time in 2004, and he did a good job because he was just learning that for the first couple of years because he was like super pinch hitter extraordinaire for the first couple of years, and then he found a home there in 2004.
Matt Stairs.
Oh, Matty Stairs too. That's another one. That was the golden. Was that 2003 when we had Reggie Sanders and Kenny Lofton and Randall Simon? Those were fun teams, man. I like those guys, and we traded them all to the Cubs.
Sure did.
And then we literally played the Cubs like 2 series later in Chicago, and just like a reunion. You're like seeing everybody again. But yeah, that 2000. I think it was 2002. That team was fun. Watching Kenny Lofton beat Kenny Lofton was pretty awesome. I love Kalo.
Yeah, it was towards the end of his career, but he was still super fun to watch.
He was so iconic in Cleveland, and then I remember watching him playing in the Final Four as a point guard for U of A. He was such a freak athlete and one of the nicest guys too. And man, he could hit. He was just like you said. It was towards the end of his career, but he was fun to watch. Up until the deadline.
Penn has asked this question like 4 times, so we'll put it up.
All right.
Altoona, what are your thoughts on Altoona, Jack?
Oh, I love Altoona. Yeah, actually, so was only there for a little bit when I got traded over. But then when I tore my calf, maybe 07, early 07, and I started my rehab, I specifically said, send me back to Altoona. I know that I had to meet up with AAA at some point, but I saw they gave me the schedule and they said, where do you want to go? And it was kind of the fruits of being a vet, where you could be open it up, see where everybody is. And I saw that Altoona had this long homestand. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going back to Altoona, man. That place is awesome. So it's always fun to get back there. It was a great place to kind of get into a new organization when I came over from the Cardinals. Had a lot of really cool memories there and played with Robert Koviak. That's where I met Robert Koviak. And let's see, there's a couple other guys that made the team. Adam Heisdu was one of he's legend there. He's mayor. I'm golfing with him on Saturday. So,
Are you really?
Oh yeah. He lives out here. He owns his own RV dealership. Yeah. He's the best. Yeah. So it's
that's awesome.
Those are good memories.
Well, real quick, have you indulged in the Altoona pizza at all? Are you familiar with it?
I don't think I did. I don't think I did. Is it special?
Smart.
Is it good?
Smart.
Jim, can you bring up a photo?
It's
Altoona
terrible.
pizza?
It's trash.
Oh,
no,
no.
it's making its rounds again on Twitter tonight. That's why I had to bring it up also. But
Altoona pizza.
It's
it's disgusting.
oh, yeah, I'll bring it up.
There's one thing worse than the red jerseys. It's Altoona pizza.
Oh no. Oh,
it's like bread with Kraft singles on top.
This is like it's Altoona style. Oh, there's some peppers in there. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks like something I can make, and I'm not a chef. So that's something that you like make in college where you want to throw something together and you put some, you're like, oh, there's a piece of bread and some old spaghetti sauce from last night. Then you just throw a piece of cheese on it, and then you're just like, this is the best thing ever. It's like, I made this.
So Altoona style pizza does not get the Jack Wilson endorsement.
Hey, no,
That's
I've
all-
never
that's all I
tried
wanna
it,
hear.
but the next time I'm there, if I'm ever there, I will. And that way I can, that's why I said, I'll give it a whirl because it might be amazing. Who knows? Apparently you guys don't like it, but
You know what? I've never had it. I've never had it. It doesn't.
I will never try.
It doesn't look
refuse
super
to.
appetizing, but
it's not. Is it not
Yeah,
going to
I
get on
mean-
the Barstool pizza
one
rating?
bite,
with
yeah.
or whatever his name
we could do. Yeah, I would take one bite of an Altoona pizza.
There you go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
I
I
hit
would
the
have
crust
one.
though, too. You got to hit one bite and then the crust.
Yep.
That rating. You
Absolutely.
might be surprised. Who knows? It's all about the sauce, anyways, right? Sauce and the crust.
Yeah.
Kraft singles are made for cheeseburgers. That's about it.
There you go. No doubt.
All right, Jack. Well, hey, we appreciate you hopping on with us. It was a lot of
Absolutely.
fun. We'll have to have you on again sometime too. So, and I think Oakland comes to Pittsburgh this year, or
No,
I guess
trust me,
Sacramento.
that
comes
has been
to Pittsburgh.
circled since the schedule came out. We got a lot of people taking that flight from the West Coast to go to see that series, and it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, which makes it even better. So it's it'll be pretty emotional for us. He spent a lot of times there as a little guy watching a lot of games, and for him to step on that field and play is going to be very, very special.
That's got to be pretty
that would
awesome. Like, not only is he playing in major leagues, but like he's gonna be literally in the same dirt.
Well, he threw the first
pitch.
pitch. He threw the first pitch out, I believe, in 2004 or 5. He threw the first. It was a bobblehead night, and he actually threw out the first pitch in one of the games. Really little, maybe 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old. And
That's
that
awesome.
was a cool moment for me and him because he got to stay on the field and do the national anthem with me the whole 9 yards. So we got a lot of pictures from that, and it's pretty special to be able to see him run out on that field and to go to the position that, in the same spot that I played for so many years. So it's pretty exciting. We just need to stay healthy, and then hopefully both the Pirates and the A's are pushing for a spot. There's a lot of games left. Don't lose hope. Don't lose hope. There's a lot of games left. A's look good. That roster has potential. Cutchin's playing like he's 24 again somehow, like he always does. He's so amazing. And so it can turn around quick. Just as much as it goes down, it can turn around. So give them a chance. Hopefully those guys pull it out.
And you guys need to keep believing.
Grandal, beautiful. I love it. That was awesome. Oh, you. Keep believing.
Yep.
Yeah, honestly,
All right.
the division's not that great. Let's go. I mean, Milwaukee's pretty
It's
good.
not.
But, actually, Cubs are kind of nasty.
Cubs are pretty good.
Yeah.
They beat us
They
pretty
looked-
good in
they looked pretty good
Sacramento.
this
They beat us really
week.
good. You know what they have? They have a lot of good baseball players. Not a lot of superstars. Like, there's some guys with some decent names, but they're not like, oh, these are everyday all-stars. But their lineup from 1 to 9 is really, really solid. And there's just a bunch of baseball players that play the game hard and play the game right. They're clutch. But like you said, you look at their lineup, there's not a single like Hall of Fame type of guy, but they're all really good baseball players.
Lots of red bubbles there.
Yeah, lots of red
A
bubbles.
lot of red bubbles. Yep.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Well,
we appreciate
absolutely.
you coming on. And yeah, hopefully the A's have a good rest of the year. Hopefully the Pirates have a good rest of the year, and then we meet there at the end. And yeah, it'll be a lot of fun.
Sounds good.
All right, guys. Everybody who is in the chat, you guys are awesome. If you're watching or listening to this after the fact, You guys rock as well. Like the video, subscribe if you haven't. Jack, is there anywhere people can follow you to just kind of see what you're up to going forward?
What? My kids made me get social media, so somehow I have it. I don't even know how to even I'm jack.wilson.2 on Instagram, apparently. Funny story, I applied for a blue check since 2019, got denied every time. But as soon as they found out I was Jacob Wilson's dad, I got a blue check.
Blue check for Jacob Wilson's dad. There you go.
That's it. I did
Congrats,
nothing.
Jacob's dad.
Apparently, I did nothing for 12 years in playing Major League Baseball to earn a blue check. But the fact that my kid's Jacob, I get a blue check. So I appreciate his help on that. And then I guess on Twitter, I'm Jackson PPS. Yeah, still too new to this stuff. But yeah, that's actually, how today works. This is actually how you recruit in college is X. That's how you find, when I was at GCU, this is how you find a bunch of players. It's crazy. So that's how I kind of got into it. But no, I appreciate it. You guys do a great job.
Yeah, as a Louisville fan, stay out of the ACC.
Okay.
Okay. Stay out of the ACC. But no, best of luck to you on the summer league team.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
you got going
Greenville Flyboys Appalachian League. We if you're in Tennessee, if anyone's out there in Tennessee, come out and see us play. It's a lot of fun.
For sure.
There you go. Awesome. All right, guys. We'll see you all later. We'll have post-game shows Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all this week. So we'll catch you all tomorrow. But appreciate you all. We're out.
Peace out, Scouts.
All right, that wraps up this episode of North Shore 9. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whether you're listening on the podcast or catching us on YouTube, if you enjoyed the show, please give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It really helps us grow. And if you're listening on the podcast, a quick review goes a long way in helping others find the show. Plus, be sure to tell a friend about us. There's always room for more here in the NS9 community. And for those looking to support us a little more, consider joining our Patreon, become an MVP member, and get exclusive perks while helping us continue to bring you more of the Pirates content you love. Thanks again for all your support, and let's go Bucks.